hello. Don't mind me, I'm enjoying my Vendange Pinot Grigio in a cardboard box. Nothing like a personal cardboard box of wine. And the cardboard box of wine is kind of... it's like something not fancy masquerading as something that's fancy. It's something that's not all that, well put together, masquerading as something that's elegant and classical. That is exactly how I'm referencing Pride and Prejudice. Yes, I'm going there. It's going to be one of those reviews. So anyways, I'm going to enjoy my wine. I feel like I should have this should be like one of those plastic straws that you pull off and put in. Pinot Grigio, not bad. It's right in the nice middle zone of not sweet, not dry. I feel like if you're gonna go cheap, go with the Pinot Grigio, because cheap dry wines are bad. Cheap sweet wines, you're gonna have a terrible headache. Anyways, Pride and Prejudice. Ugh. Okay, so I'm at the bookstore, walking around. Oh, it's a used bookstore. I love the used bookstores. And I'm just kind of, perusing, looking for, just something that's interesting. And I come on Jane Austen right at the beginning. I've never read a Jane Austen book before. So I'm just kind of okay, you know what? I deserve to give her a whirl. I'll check it out. I don't know what Jane Austen book to start with. I hadn't done any research or anything like that. And, but I was no, I've heard of Pride and Prejudice. I know there's a million movie versions of it. I don't think I've seen any of them. If I have, they were that impactful on me. But I was okay, you know what? This is a classic. It is known as a classic. I'm pretty sure Wishbone did a Pride and Prejudice episode. It's that much of a classic, so I got it. So, okay. This particular version I have is 332 pages. I think, it's very compressed text. So, but anyways, I'm 100 pages in, and I want to claw my eyes out. Literally nothing has happened. Nothing of consequence has happened at all. Eventually, a third into the book, something finally, happens, or whatever. And it has nothing to do with the subject matter of the book. That doesn't bother me. Basically, if you don't know, the book was written in 1813, right around there, and it's out of Jane Austen's out of England, and it's basically about rich dudes courting girls and asking them to marry them. That's basically the book, and the book even said here. What is the first line of the book? It says, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." Ooh, that's amazing. So anyways, that's, that kind of starts off the entire book. But, anyways, 100 pages in, nothing of consequence has happened, okay? They've formed some opinions on people that they don't really like. You have all these gossiping old betties, talking about some dude. They're oh, that guy is such a jerk. Don't talk with him. And so, anyways, usually when there's somebody's that guy's a jerk, and they keep on hammering you over the head with it, you're okay, she's going to end up with that guy. I've seen enough romantic comedies to know that is exactly what happens. So the main character is this Elizabeth girl, and then there's this Mr. Darcy, this very wealthy la-di-da guy, and so he's painted as just a jerk. All these gossiping old ladies are I've heard these things. He's who have you heard this from? It's 1813. Who have you heard this from? And so the first 100 pages, besides nothing has happened, besides nothing happening, they just say that, oh, that guy's a jerk. And then every dude's asking girls to engage. Apparently cousins asking cousins for engagement in the 1800s was a thing, I'm going to assume, because that happens all in this thing. So apparently cousins not really allowed to be together is a very recent advancement in humanity. So I'm... okay, the things you learn. Anyways, so yeah, basically, this Elizabeth character doesn't like Mr. Darcy. Mr. Darcy ends up proposing to her, and she's like, ha ha ha, no, you're insane. So she like tells him why. She's like, well, all these gossiping people said this, and he doesn't say anything. And then the major tentpole event of the entire book is he hands her this letter. And this letter's like, no, none of this is true, and here's why. One, I hate that the major, most important event in the entire book was a letter. It wasn't even an activity or event that took place between two people. It was a letter. It's like, remember in like middle school when you were too shy to talk to like a girl or a guy or something, so you wrote a letter and gave it to him? It's like, one of these people, like 12? You couldn't tell her this in person? You had to write a letter? Also, the letter was huge. It was like 10 pages of this text, which means that's like 40 handwritten pages that this dude somehow wrote over the course of one evening. You hand wrote 40 pages. Okay, I'm going to just like, okay, I guess I'll believe that you wrote. I mean, you have nothing else to do. But so yeah, the tentpole event is him writing this giant letter for her, and then the next like 100 pages are her like asking a couple questions to some other guys like, is this true? Is that really? What? You mean those gossiping people don't know what they're talking about? You gotta be kidding me. And then, oh, guess what happens? They end up together. He proposes again, and they're like, "Yay!" And they're happily ever after. There wasn't any like sudden like 90-degree turns or like crazy stuff happening to prevent anything. No, nothing. None of that happened. It boggles my mind that this is a classic at all. It's like, I feel like this is one of those books that you like you can't say anything bad about it because it's like supposed to be really good. You know, it's like. Just breathe. And then there's this such a forced character in this lady Catherine. She's like, okay, so this is the cousin proposes to Elizabeth first, and she's like, nah, that's weird. Okay, she doesn't say that, but let's face it, she's probably like, nah, that's weird. You're my cousin. That's kind of gross. But he's like in the ministry. I mean, he's like, you know, working in the ministry. He's basically like a junior minister, kind of. And like he has to listen to this lady Catherine, and they're not really together, but she's like doing all this stuff. It's such just a fabricated BS character that has no importance. There's no need for this particular character other than, in the very end, she's like the aunt of this Mr. Darcy, and she approaches Elizabeth at the very end and is like, oh yeah, so you better not dare marry, you know, Mr. Darcy because blah blah blah. And Elizabeth's like, I don't like you, bitch. And that's basically how the conversation goes, and they end up engaged, and you know, like there's zero purpose for that character. I feel like most of the characters, I mean, the whole story. This would have been good as a short story. Like the first 100 pages condensed down to 25. The last 100 pages condensed down to 25. This is a short story. There's like nothing of consequence happens. It's just the moral of the story is don't listen to gossiping old hags when they don't know what they're talking about. It's like when you go to your family Thanksgiving and all the old people around you start saying stuff and you're just sitting at the table like, geez, you're not allowed, you can't talk like that anymore. Like this isn't like 1940, what are you, and they just gossip, blah, 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 and you're just sitting there like, can I like leave the table and just, it's Thanksgiving, I'm pretty sure the Lions are losing to the Cowboys by now, can I just turn that on? I don't get why this is a classic. I absolutely no clue. It's a fabricated classic. It's kind of like how this wine is a fabricated classic wine. It's in a cardboard box. No matter how much you want to masquerade, you're still in a cardboard box. I'm getting more out of the wine than I did out of this book, though. But just like, okay, maybe you love Jane Austen and you love Pride and Prejudice. Could you please explain to me in the comments why this is why do you love this book? Why, just enlighten me. I don't think you're going to change my mind, but try. I'd love to hear it. And don't get into this represents la-di-da and that represents la-di-da. Because so often we just fabricate or we manifest these ideas into these books. It's like, well, that obviously represents no. It's like the last book, one of the last books I did, Old Man in the Sea. Everyone loves to just put all these fabricated ideas into what that means and what that means. And Hemingway himself was like, nah, that's all crap, man. Like, it's just a book about an old guy fishing. There's no, none of this means any of that. So just sometimes it's just like, I think we're just taking so much, we just make up, this obviously this book is so freaking boring and nothing happens. It must all just be symbolism of cousins engaged and wealthy dudes. Not my favorite book. I read it. I got through it. It was a chore because, again, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's just people sitting around drinking tea, playing cards, wishing they were at the other card table, and wanting to write each other letters because they don't talk with each other. They'd rather write 40-page letters than actually physically talking to the other person. Oh, man. So, yeah. If I got into the Grayson fixes the book, this would be a short story. And something else would happen. There'd be like a hiccup or something. No hiccups. No hiccups. So, that is my review of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Again, please explain. If you like it, please tell me what makes you like it, because I'm at a loss for words. It is. If you could explain to me why it's great, and again, you don't have to agree with my review. That's cool. That's fine. I'm very interested to know why certain people like this book, or why they think it's a classic. Because at the exact same time, like within 2 years, I think 2 years before this was published, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein came out. Probably the greatest, single-hand greatest creation in the history of horror at the same time. Why are we even talking about Pride and Prejudice? Frankenstein should just... I should have read the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, or whatever that book is. No wonder that guy wrote the Pride and Prejudice and whatever those horror books are, because he wanted something else to happen. Anyways, that is the review, and I'm going to finish the rest of my Vendange, I don't know if there's... It's a carton of box wine that is worth 3 glasses of wine. After this book, I'm going to need 3. 3, wouldn't that... How much is a full just bottle of wine? I don't know. Anyways, for Pride and Prejudice and for this box of wine, take it easy.